Good evening, everyone. We start the meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Looking for my code enforcement team. Where are they? Yeah. Oh. You can see we purchased a brand new podium with its own little microphone, which is great because last meeting when we were having the meeting, the people who are viewing, streaming could not hear the people in the audience. So you're going to now have to come up and speak into the mic at the podium. Okay, so we're looking for the Code Enforcement Bureau. We expected our school district to do a presentation of the budget, but Sean, I found out he had a conflict in his schedule, so there is a link on from our website, portjeff.com. There's a link to the school district's budget and their budget presentation, and I think that that's been deemed that satisfies the school district's public disclosure to us or presentation to us and compliance. All right, so we're sorry because we enjoy seeing our administration from the school and hearing from them every year, but they won't be with us this evening. So if you have questions about the school budget, they cannot be addressed this evening directly. We have our representative from Suffolk County with us here this evening. Two, I apologize, one in uniform and one in not in uniform, and Chief Lute. So if you gentlemen want to come up, and you can use the podium that's facing the general public for our update on public safety. Yeah, and try and, as much as you can, talk into the microphone.
Sure.
Thank you.
So one topic that's probably on everyone's mind, I'll just go over real quickly, and that is the person that was slashed on Main Street the other night. So I have a printout here from the Lieutenant in Crime Control. Basically, it just states that the victim and the aggressor became involved in a verbal dispute. The dispute turned physical. The aggressor slashed the victim on the upper left arm with a knife. Suffolk County PD responded. The victim was taken by ambulance to Stony Brook, treated and released. The witness was brought to the scene and then brought later for a quick show-up when Suffolk County PD pulled over a car with the suspect in it. They arrested the suspect without incident, and a check of both backgrounds revealed no gang affiliation or other motivation for this event. It's apparently a one-off incident itself and expected not to have any follow-up or retaliation by either man. All right, so the next subject we have, I've been meeting with the Suffolk County 6th Precinct since February, reference our upcoming season, a busy season. So we were trying to meet and speak about what things that they could do in support of us to try to make the village safer and enhance our safety. So I gave them a list in late February. The inspector, Pat Riley, and his staff and the admin staff, they reviewed the list. They invited me back earlier this month. We met for about an hour and a half, spoke about it, and everything that we had asked for was approved. So I'll quickly just go over. This is kind of a laundry list here, but we'll be getting the whiskey unit. For those who don't know what the whiskey unit is, the whiskey unit is a dedicated two-person car with 2 officers in it. They're dedicated to our 4 busy nights each week. They will either work 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. or 3 p.m. to 3 a.m. That's not been established yet, but they'll be here for those 4 nights every week through the season. We also have a uniformed patrol officer assigned to Main Street. He'll be assigned to the downtown business areas and Main Street. We had him last year. He basically does a number of park and walks. Park and walk means they park the vehicle, they walk up Main Street. Maybe he'll walk East Main, he'll walk to the Rocket Ship Park, the park in Grant Park. And we have him for the entire season, Monday through Friday. So that'll be a presence on our Main Street during the day, Monday through Fridays. We'll also have an additional patrols on midnights. And my understanding is that they're going to make extensive patrols of our neighborhoods, so we can try to curtail any of the activities where people are going into cars. Additionally, all of the precinct cars, the sector cars that meet up, the 4 sectors for this area meet up at North Country and Main Street. Those four corners are 4 sectors. Those 4 sectors will all also be doing what's called enhanced park and walk. So they'll come down and they'll do those, try to do those as often as they can. Obviously, on busy days, that'll be less frequent, and on not busy days, we'll see a lot of them. We ask for bike patrols. Anytime we have an event, and on weekends, they will make every effort to do that. The bike patrol unit those guys are specially trained, so you can't just take any officer and throw them on a bike and say, all right, go out and ride the bike. So they have to actually have guys that are trained and available on those days. But with that they're going to try for us. I also was assured that should we find any area where we're deficient or we feel we need more help, we'll reassess during the season and we'll be offered that help. Just come up with it and they'll give it to us. We have our own youth outreach. Our youth outreach officers will also be out on the street, and they'll be liaising with Officer Murphy. That will be the patrol officer for the week. I'm just going through all my paper here. So we have an extensive survey, I'll call it a survey, that we've done based on complaints from residents of California Avenue, speed in the area. So in response to the speed in the area, we placed, I believe, stop signs at 3 new intersections, and 2 of those are always stop signs. One already had a yield sign, so that's just a 2-way stop sign. We placed the speed trailer in those locations for 2 weeks, and this is the statistical data that we found. 4,756 cars with an average speed of 24 miles an hour. That's 1 mile an hour lower than the limit, which is 25. 4,358, or 92% of the cars, continued at the speed limit or under it. The over the speed limit was 398 cars, or 8%. The maximum car speed was 74 miles an hour, 1 car. Cars doing 10 miles an hour over the limit or more, only 38 cars out of 4,700 and change. That's less than 1%. So I think what we can draw from this is that while I completely understand it was likely a speed problem previously, I think the stop signs have fixed that problem, okay? In order not to just go by the data by this machine, we walked the neighborhoods and we conducted a poll. And we went to every house on California, and then we went on side streets as well. And what it turned out is that majority of the people who were polled feel that the stop signs are very effective. They were asked, would you want to see a speed bump or some white lines, or they don't want anything else. That is like 90% of the people said, no, this is our residential neighborhood. We really don't want anything more. We feel this is effective. Also, a majority felt that probably half the problem was the construction that was on 25A for months, that people got frustrated. They made it to a street where they knew it was cut through the old post, and they just drove through California and sped through as well. So in short, I don't think we have a speeding problem there now, okay? We will revisit this after the busy season, and I'd like to do this exact survey again at that time, and hopefully we'll stay within the same percentages, okay? And that'll prove out that we have no issue there.
Chief, can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
The speed trailer now has been relocated. It was up on East.
It was on East Broadway. It's now up on Main Street,
Okay, and so are we gonna?
coming down the hill.
Right, in front by. Okay, so is it gonna be able to collect this data for?
Anytime we need data collected, you just have to let me know ahead of time. I have a list with Kathy, and we're coordinating.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
What extra effort does it take to get the data collected?
It's sizable, but it's not an issue. We'll do it.
Okay.
I could tell you that you probably do have a speed problem coming down the hill on Main Street. That's without a doubt.
Yeah, if it's not too big of a effort to get that data, I'm just wondering if
Sure.
since it's a questionable or probable problem anyway.
Right,
where
and
we're
it's a
putting
main
this new
thoroughfare.
trailer,
Yeah.
then we might as well, collect data on each of these
No problem.
points.
Currently, we have 3 more spots we'd like to hit this month. If you don't mind, we'll set it up for next month that way as a survey, if that's okay with you.
I'm keeping an ongoing list, so if you have any that come up, please send it over to me, and I'll just put it in order on the list, so we have one consistent list for these guys.
And we'll start collecting data
Yeah, from all of them.
from all of them.
Yep.
Okay.
And again, if
then-
anyone ever has an issue on their street, they feel that they would like to have us do a survey in their area. If you live on one of the streets that's tighter, it's much more difficult for us to put the trailer there, because we're not leaving room for cars at that point. And that's not gonna be really a deterrent, because they're gonna have to drive around the car. If you have a wide enough street, we'd love to come down, we'd love to put the trailer there for a little while and just check the traffic.
Chief?
Ma'am? You have to just say your name.
Just come up. She needs to come up.
Yeah, and
Come right up here.
Amal, I'm sorry, you have to address into the microphone because we're live streaming. Thank you very much.
Yes, I remember you. We had the trailer there in October, I think, right, or November?
It wasn't quite at the intersection.
Sorry,
It was
sorry, Kevin.
the usual issue whereby the car had already sped past by the.
Hold on, he's got to put, so it turns green. There you go.
Whereby the car had already sped past by the time, but the trailer was sort of helping. And you mentioned that it will be in 3 places? Is
Which?
East Broadway, the trailer, you said that you're going to
Oh,
set it up
we
in
have
3
a
more
long
places?
list, yes. We have a long list. Why, you looking to be back on the list?
Yes,
No problem at all.
We're checking right now.
okay. Is it already part of the, you mentioned that there are 3 places, but I didn't know which
No,
3.
there's several places, but there are 3 right now that are pertinent after the place where it's at now. We want to put it by the school right before they graduate. There's a whole bunch of different things that I have lined out that Kathy and I have been discussing.
Okay.
So, but
And-
definitely we can put it back down there again.
You're on the list.
We're on the list.
Yes.
So do we have, I mean, it's already started. There is, and I thank you for, I mean, there is a new speed sign.
Yep.
Nobody sees it. I've asked all our neighbors. I mean, it took me a while, and I walk there as well. And no, it's just a tough one to see, maybe because of the curve.
Well, the issue with where you are is, you saw where I put the sign last time. That's kind of the only place I could put it, in that little washout area where there's a drain. I put it right in front of that because there's an extra piece of roadway. So that's the only area I can actually put it where you are. I'd love to put it further up, closer to the,
It can go, I think it can go just a bit west of that, right at the intersection.
I'll go up and take another
Oakwood.
look, but
Okay.
in the initial survey, I looked at it and it really wasn't safe to put it anyplace else. But we'll take another look.
Okay, if you could, because
Yep.
before you mentioned that the safety issue was to the machine itself, but some of us really are
Because if
trying to
someone
crawl.
hits that machine, the safety issue becomes the person that hit the machine. That's a heavy piece of equipment. Yeah, it's all
When
tubular
you
steel.
turn
It's-
onto Oakwood, it widens a bit, and there
Yeah.
is extra space, I think.
I
that
have
could
you
go
written
there.
down. I'm going to take a look tomorrow. I'm
Okay.
working all day tomorrow. I'll take a look.
Okay. And you can survey our street, too. I think we'd all be happy
Okay.
to take a survey.
Yeah.
We'll also be painting slow on both
You're going to do
sides
it.
of
I'll
the
paint it
street.
for you if you want, that's what I, but,
The reason is it hasn't been cooperative, that's the issue.
okay,
So we have the stencil, and we'll be putting slow on both sides of the street as soon as the temperature warms up, and the street surface warms up as well.
okay,
So that's coming too.
all right, thanks.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Any questions for me? Yes, go right ahead.
Anna Khazanova, 102 Hawthorne Street. Thank you for coming down California and asking my neighbors. I'm just curious about the data that has been provided. How many of them sped through the stop signs? Is that something that
The
showed?
machine itself doesn't pick up when someone passes the stop sign. It only picks up the speed.
Okay, because
Because the initial complaint from you was that, and from your neighbors, was that people were speeding. So we put the stop signs as a calming remedy, okay? I'm not going to say, I'm going to kid myself, at 2 o'clock in the morning that everybody's going to stop at all 3 of those stop signs going down California.
that's not a concern.
Right, but the effort is, and the concern was, to slow it down so children playing in the area, people backing out of their driveways, God bless you, that would be remedied, and that has been. The average speed is only 25 4 miles an hour. That's 1 mile an hour below the speed limit. So if we're looking to achieve slowing traffic, we've done that.
We've done it to a great degree. I agree with you, and that it has been helpful to get the stop signs. When you were talking to one of my neighbors across the street from me, Melissa Joyce's.
Is that the teacher and the plumber, or is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice lady.
We have very lovely
I shouldn't say teacher,
neighborhood.
she's a principal. Yeah.
She's assistant principal,
Yes.
yes. I know that there were a number of cars just like blowing
3.
past. 3.
Of 8. While
Three
I
of
was,
8.
while I was talking to her, because we stood there and counted.
Right.
8 cars passed, 3 of them, and they rolled through. They weren't speeding, they just rolled through. One lady went right through all of them.
Okay.
So again, then we got Suffolk County PD up there. They wrote 16 summonses that day.
Which is helpful.
That's great.
And
Which
Chief,
is-
I think the person who blew through was from the neighborhood. Is that not correct?
It was someone that pulled off of either Emerson or Hawthorne.
I do not deny that.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask is, back in February, respectfully, Mayor, you've said that there will be an opportunity for an engineer to come in and take a look at the road, because when the trailer is there, the speeds are significantly lower when the trailer is not there. And I was working in the yard yesterday, and for 1 hour that I was there, I've observed at least 5 cars just like blowing through, going at least 30 miles an hour. And I understand that we're not going to solve all of the problems and stop all of the people. And part of the issue is that I don't think it's a question of enforcement. It's the question of figuring out how do we reconfigure a street. Or it's not just, as you were saying, it's not just my neighborhood. How do we reconfigure the streets in Port Jefferson to make them more safe for walkable? And I remember we were talking with Trustee Snaden about an engineer doing an assessment. What is the situation with that, or what was the decision made about that?
Well, we do this in steps.
Okay.
We first identify if there is an issue. Our data says there's no issue at this point. So, and I would defer to the mayor, but additionally, you have to understand, in speaking to some of your younger residents on California, one guy brought up a very good point. I said, I know the sign kind of has a habit of slowing people down. He said, no, it doesn't. He said, when I see those signs, I hit the gas and see if I can make the top number. So then I started doing a little reading online, and that's very typical. You actually have people, young people, mostly, sure there's some older people too, but young people who will drive as fast as they can, see how far they can make the numbers go up. So it does skew our report. So there is another avenue that I'm going to be speaking to the board about, but I'm just going to keep that to the side for now. There's a discrete piece of equipment that you just mount on a pole, and there is no sign, there is no anything. So we're going to be speaking about that.
So the engineers are extremely pricey. I think it was $10,000 just to look at your particular road, just to look at that road and give an assessment. So we're trying to collect as much data as we can, get your neighborhood sense of what their feelings are, because the only way that we would be able to manage something like this on a village-wide basis is by actually creating a special assessment for each neighborhood to bear the cost of that traffic calming, whatever improvement is in that particular neighborhood, because we would start to create a precedent where everybody is now going to want, slow down. Painting on the street is pretty simple thing, right? Speed trailers, you can see, is being shared by multiple neighborhoods. We're trying to get that assessment, collect the data, building our relationship, of course, with Suffolk to enforce. But there are some street enhancements that can be done. And so, as I said, if there are 1 or 2 of your neighbors that want to come and sit and discuss that further, and the willingness of your neighborhood to bear that cost of exploring that and putting in that special, whatever that might be, whatever the recommendation might be, that would be something that the board, I think, we would have the means to entertain that. But then the cost of it would become a special assessment back to those streets, because it's a big village.
I fully appreciate that. Regarding the cost of it, in the last hearing, the budget identified that it was like $1.5 million for sidewalks, and
No, that's $150,000. $150,000 for the entire village to repair sidewalks. Repair, not install, repair.
Repair sidewalks.
Yeah, it's a big, that's an extra zero on the spreadsheet. That's a big, or 2 zeros? That's a big differential. It's only $150,000, the entire village budget for sidewalk. That's part of the challenge that we have. And what was it for paving? 456,000 for the entire village. And so that's why, we try and share that money by paving this section versus that section, and now east side versus west side. And this year we're doing a little paving everywhere. Of now some of the side streets, they're in pretty bad shape. The concrete sidewalk list I should have at the next board meeting to repair. I know there's a stretch of sidewalk on Beach Street in particular. There's a section of sidewalk uptown. And then there's certain sections, it'll be 1 carve out or 3. We try and repair as much as we can on an ongoing basis, but we're trying to take advantage of some of this. It's not a lot, but some of the federal money that came down.
Did I not hear it correctly that you were going to replace the sidewalk at the Rocket Ship Park?
That's a grant that we have from Town of Brookhaven and Suffolk County, and it's about $130,000 grant to pick up some of the bricks that are in bad alignment and redo the pathways down there because they're. But that's another grant that we have. Joe, is that from Town of Brookhaven or Suffolk County? The walkways down at Rocket Ship Park.
Mm-hmm. So currently, there's nothing in the budget to plan for evaluations like that to figure out how to make the neighborhood safer, walkable. Because, for example, me going down California with my 2 children and then turning down to 25A becomes an issue. It's a lot less of an issue now with the stop signs, but it is still part of the issue. So I was just trying to figure out what measures, if any, that are planned to.
Took us 8 years to get the sidewalk on 25A with DOT.
Then we can't waste time. We need to plan for it now.
I
If it
think
takes 8
as a result
years.
of our poll, though, I think you have to go back and speak to your neighbors because, again, almost 90% said they do not want sidewalks, they don't want speed bumps, they don't want writing on the roadway, they don't want any other measures. They actually feel that the stop signs, most of them feel, the stop signs were actually too much. They agree they work, but they said they're a little too much. They didn't want that for their neighborhood.
I mean, this is where it would be really helpful to get, because I can get the list of people who come and complain to me. These are mainly dog walkers. These are mainly people who have children who walk around.
Yeah.
So maybe we can compare notes and
I can give
figure
you
out.
everything I have, no problem at all.
Wonderful.
If
And then
you,
we can
either
deal with
call
that.
the office manager tomorrow, the secretary, or myself. I'm here all day.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Anna. Gentlemen, Suffolk County?
You're up. Sergeant O'Callahan?
Good evening, folks. My name's Sergeant O'Callahan. I'm assigned to the 6th Precinct Crime Section. I brought with me Officer Unknown. He's one of the regular Port Jefferson Village officers. Okay. I'm going to go over really quickly just the stats for this last month versus last year. Total calls for service went up. Is this all right?
Yeah, I can hear.
Calls for service went up from 271 to 283. Fortunately, the number of criminal incidents has stayed the same. There are no more criminal calls. 80 cases did go down by 1, and there were no overdoses, fortunately, this past month. Non-criminal incidents went up from 240 to 266 non-criminal incidents in the village. The total number of arrests went down by 1. We had 6 this time last year, and there's only 5 this year. With regards to what Chief Luke mentioned, walk-in parks, the summer one will be Officer Skip and Murphy, the school resource officers. They cover the entire 6th precinct. Once school's out, they'll be reassigned to the village. So there'll be 2 of them assigned to the village once school's out, in addition to the regular officers doing more park and walks, like Chief Luke said, stopping, getting out of vehicles, walking into the restaurants, trying to make themselves more visible to guests and residents alike. With reference to the bike school, there are officers currently being prepped for the bike school. They have to have physical done first, they have to pass medical, and then they can go for training for the bike school. So there's currently a class getting prepared for that. And with reference to the night patrols, it's a countywide problem with people going to vehicles at night, breaking into cars. I'm sure some of you saw the 4th precinct had 4 vehicles stolen in one night. The social media campaigns have been done with the COPE officers from the 6th precinct, as well as the countywide, to try to remind people to lock your cars. Unfortunately, with the key fobs getting left in the car, it's very easy. You can lock your cars 99% of the time. The one time you don't is the time somebody's going to check your door handles. When these officers at night do their patrols, it's very difficult. We have ring videos of the people just ducking behind the car in the driveway, and the officer can't see them. So while there are people going through cars still, my section, the crime section, does get those reports. This past month, it has gone down. You get hot spots here and there when somebody is out creating problems. If you or your neighbors do see something, have something on a ring video, we do send out requests to neighborhoods. Ring limits how big a request we can do, and they won't let us contact residents directly. So if we send out a request, Ring takes it and then sends it to residents. Unfortunately, most people don't get back to us. I know we're all busy, but most people don't get back to us with our request when they do have an incident in the area. So if you do have a neighbor who has a car broken into, please encourage them to report it. If they don't report it to the police department, we can't do ring requests. We can't check for a neighborhood video. We do have officers canvass for video as well. Again, Ring is the only video recording that we can do a remote request for. So if your neighbor has a different system and they have to reach out to us and let us know, we go door to door when we have incidents to check. Again, sometimes people don't get back to us. So by all means, if you have information, give a call to the 6th Precinct directly, the COPE office or the regular hotline, and we'll follow up without question. Coming up, events upcoming, the next community meeting for the 6th Precinct, everyone's welcome to come, will be May 10th, 7 p.m. at the 6th Precinct. The COPE officers will be doing a coffee with the cop on May 13th. That will be from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. At Selden Home Depot, 401 Independence Plaza. There'll be a reading coming up with the cop on Saturday, May 21st. That'll be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It'll be at Laundry Kingdom, 1 Middle Country Road, Middle Island. There's also a Narcan training class being put on by Officer, it'll be Legislator Sarah Anker's office on May 11th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And that will be at Heritage Park. I'll leave flyers up front, if that's okay, Mayor,
Yes, please.
for any resident that wants to take a look. If not for you, even for a neighbor that has concerns with their kids, it's quick training, and it could be a lifesaver, obviously. That is our update for the stats. Reference the assault. There was one other assault in the village last month. It was a physical fight. The suspect has been identified, and paperwork signed recently within the past week that we can pursue charges, and I spoke to the officers tonight assigned. The investigator will be looking to arrest him hopefully tonight, but in the very near future. Any
Good job.
questions?
Guys have had great response. Thank you.
Thank you for that report. I wanted to just follow up on the park and walks. I know the purpose of them is mostly to have a presence in our very busy downtown, but as Uptown is experiencing revitalization, we have new businesses moving in there.
It's part of it.
Okay, great. So
Give them targeted areas.
Perfect.
6 areas, they'll be doing all of them.
very good. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you.
They're generated, the park and walks are normally aimed at business districts, so they're not going to be knocking on your doors in your neighborhood. It's really just for people from the community, but also for people coming to visit the village to know that, hey, there's a large police presence, this is a friendly village, and if you don't want to be with us, just go someplace else, okay?
Officer, would you please remind the public, would you please remind the public when they have a traffic issue in their neighborhood and would like to request patrol, what is the best way for them to do that?
Okay, if you dial, the 6th Precinct number is 854-8600, and there's a switchboard. You can connect to the COPE office. The COPE office works directly with the village, with my office, with the inspector of the 6th Precinct, John Esathiou, and Linda Petrowski are currently 2 6th Precinct officers. We also have some officers from headquarters assigned to that unit. They do the coffee with the cop, they do the reading with the cops, and they do forward all community complaints. Like one of the reasons I brought Officer Ione down here is so that he would hear your complaints, and he is the one, and his coworkers will be actively doing the summonses and enforcement in the village and the surrounding neighborhoods.
Just ask one more. Sorry. Thank you. Is there any update on? I know New York passed the Sleep Act for cracking down on louder vehicles, and it's not sort of classic car or motorcycle loud, but the modified exhaust pipes. I know that this is a problem in any of the neighborhoods that have a straight run of street going by. So is this something that the department is looking into, training on pursuing enforcement of
The
this?
straight pipes and motorcycles specifically has been a problem for years in the village. That we do push every year when the busy season picks up. Additionally, there has been issues with car clubs getting together and racing and causing loud noise. So that is a county-wide problem that they are working on initiatives and frequently bringing the highway department down now to assist the precinct level officers because they're large groups to try to deter that.
Great, thank you.
Very well.
Thank you, Sergeant. Absolutely. Thank you for attending.
Maybe just put them on the podium, and they can grab them as they come up.
Yeah, like, if for a neighbor or friend, anyone, please grab.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah. So there was, I think, a request by Mr. Mart a while ago to allow the public to speak before the Board of Trustees gave reports. And I think we're going to stick with the regular plan, Michael, to give our reports. I'm asking for the board to keep the reports relatively short or speak relatively quickly so we're not here till all hours of the evening. But sometimes the questions can be answered or sometimes the actual reports actually trigger other questions. So if we could quickly go through reports, and I'll start to my far right with Trustee Miller, please.
Going to report something that's been accounted in Newsday. There has been a settlement on the final settlement for the certiorari's that were against Island Park and the Glenwood Landing LIPA facilities. We, Port Jefferson, had settled that a number of years ago. We want to thank Mr. Egan for his efforts in our settlement because we achieved a much better position than these two late settling districts. You had basically, was it a 9-year slide down to reduce to the total of 46% the LIPA revenues, and these two districts will be seeing that in 5 years. So that's going to be a very harsh dose of reality for them. I had spoken before about the community choice aggregation. This is a concept that has only come to Long Island recently. It's been in New York State, the rest of the state, for quite some time. And basically it will permit, if the board were to approve, the purchase of electric power from an alternate source, and this would be green power. The concept was not available on Long Island as Public Service Commission did not have jurisdiction over LIPA until recently, and there has been legislation passed to permit that, and so Mayor Garant and I will be speaking with officials involved with Southampton Town, which is already subscribed, and Jewel, the company that sponsors this. That's pretty much it. I want to thank you and turn it over to the mayor again.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm going to go to my far left with Trustee Cassay on the end.
Thank you, Mayor. So the 6-Acre Park Committee will give its presentation of proposal to the Board of Trustees on the 16th, which is the next Board of Trustees meeting at 3:30 in the afternoon here at Village Hall. That information will also be posted online. I'll coordinate with our tech folks to get that up to the public as well. The overall aim is to have a treed park or an arboretum densely planted that replaces a significant portion or all of the species that are currently there, which are invasive species with little to no ecological value to native or migratory fauna coming through, to replace those invasive species with native species, providing a beautiful park for our residents to enjoy, a nice green space to connect with, but also giving back. It's a rare opportunity to give back to nature in a meaningful way. Any further comments, questions, those are always welcome to my email at trustee-casse@portjeff.com. The zoning board met on April 28th. 2 variances were issued for fences. We continue leading up to our slightly belated Arbor Day celebrations. I actually just got back from Saratoga a couple hours ago, picking up 300 trees. I never thought 300 trees would fit in a Honda Fit, but there we go. So they will be given to our entire first grade class here in Port Jefferson Village. Each first grader has received a coupon for a free tree. I had the pleasure of giving a presentation to all of the first graders with resident Heather Lynch. We asked them what questions they had about trees. We all danced like trees in the wind. It was a wonderful Arbor Day celebration. So that continues at the farmers market. On this Sunday, the kickoff to the farmers market, any residents or visitors can purchase for $1 a tree sapling. They're about yay big, but from tiny acorns, great oaks grow. And so we're hoping that folks will take these home and plant them for this purpose. We'll also be planting the mini tree nursery at the country club, and that will be on the 9th of May from 5 to 7 p.m. Anyone is welcome to join us there. And there is a, let's see, I'm hoping to have a work session on rental code changes in the near future. Just wanted to query the board about that, planning that work session. Any thoughts? I know we talked about having a work session we talked about planning a work session at the last meeting.
Yeah, well, this is not the time to have that discussion, but as part of your report, yes.
Very good. So that is the update on rental code changes. Hoping to have that work session. And we discussed the village media policy clarification downstairs. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Trustee Laux, please.
Thank you. I had a conversation with Arthur on the way up the stairs. Apparently this came out of the newspaper article about golf courses, golf membership being in shortage. Quite the contrary. Up in our country club, our membership is very healthy. We've exceeded 550 members this year. It's down a little bit from last year, but last year was an exceptional year. Previous year memberships have been averaging somewhere around 400, a little over 400. I think we're very, very healthy with our membership. Contrary to what we talked about, membership in golf, more people are playing golf today than ever before. So that article in the paper was a little misleading. An additional item here that we've completed the survey of the western portion of the country club, that area to the west of our upper parking lot that was cleared years ago. And we're trying now to work out a way to put back some additional tennis facility and or pickleball facility using the cleared area plus the southern area of courts 1 through 4 that we feel will be able to be used down the road. You're going to note, if you go up to the country club, a new area out in front of that clubhouse. It's a garden that was created by the tenants. The green area that was between the 2 parking lots has now been surrounded by cypress trees. This was put in by the tenant as a replacement for everything they've lost. They have no place in the back of their building anymore for any kind of pictures for special events, weddings, and so on and so forth. The Bluff has taken those gazebos away. There is no place for them to take their pictures. This was paid for entirely by the tenant, not by the village. They also purchased a brand-new flagpole that was relocated on the other side of the parking lot next to the, between the clubhouse, the pro shop, and the scoreboard that's up there on the hill. With regards to the bluff, I'm going to bypass that and let Margot take on that discussion. I've got a special request. If there's anyone here who knows of anyone who is interested in working at the country club, we are in kind of dire straits up there with maintenance personnel. We've discussed at the board of possibly increasing our salaries so we can get some more people to work up there. You can't run a country club on the amount of people that we have up there right now. We're actively looking for people to work on the golf course. Additionally, and this is not related to the golf course, in the recreation department, we're still actively looking for lifeguards. We need lifeguards to open our beaches. We're also looking for camp counselors to work for the summer. Lifeguards, of course, have to be certified. Our counselors, we have junior counselors and senior counselors. Going back to the country club, we have to, the 16-year-old is the minimum that we can hire up there to work. We have created 2 pickleball courts up at Texaco Park. We had volunteers come up and we mapped out the courts. We painted the lines ourselves. We're having a clinic a week from tomorrow, 6 o'clock in the evening. Anyone who's interested in learning about the sport of pickleball, playing the sport of pickleball, even if we can't get you on the court to play, you can gain a lot of information about this fast-growing sport. We're going to provide all of the paddles. We'll provide the balls. We'll try to get you on the court. Basically, we're focusing on the age group 10 through 17. If you show up with someone, we'd like to have an adult there with these 10 to 17-year-olds. We're going to try to get everyone that's up there on the court to experience this fast-growing sport. I covered the openings for summer camps. We still have some openings for the full-time and part-time summer programs. It's late. It's May 2nd. The non-resident is now eligible to come into the programs. We've been holding off on that until the residents had every chance to sign up. If you have someone who wants to get into the camp, I would do it as quickly as possible. And finally, the last thing I have here is I want to thank Dave Melios, who's the department head of our parks department. He's really been a huge help in getting us going with our, not only our camps, but our summer programs, our new kayak racks, and most recently his assistance in getting us going with the pickleball. We painted the lines on the pickleball courts up at Texaco Park. I want to thank Dave for that, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Stan. Great report. Deputy Mayor Stanton, please.
Thanks, Mayor. Dave has been very busy, because I'm going to start off my report by thanking him and the Parks crew, too. The beautification efforts that I've been working on, he and his crew have been fabulous in helping the vision come to life around town. And you may have noticed the new tables and benches, the cement benches and tables that are on the Arden Place Pocket Park, we're calling it, next to the Gap. I drive by there and I love seeing people sitting there and enjoying their beverage and their food, or just hanging out with their kids. So I'm happy to see that. The flowers there are forthcoming as the weather starts to cooperate a little more, as are the flowers and plantings around Village Hall. Those are ordered. They are in at the greenhouse locally, and just waiting for the good weather to plant. So thank you to Dave and his crew. They've been fantastic. I know this is their season and they're very busy. The traffic safety that I was going to update, our Chief Lute and Suffolk gave you guys the update on that for California Avenue and East Broadway. So if there's any further questions on that, I'll take those later on. The Rocket Ship Park bathrooms, I've been getting a lot of questions about that, when they're going to be done. We just had an update downstairs that it's going to be a little bit longer for some of the equipment, the fixtures to come in. So we discussed looking into some porta potties in the meantime, so the kids and the families will have bathrooms down there closest to Rocket Ship Park in the meantime. I continue my resident meetings and meetings with businesses to hear concerns, and those are being addressed as they come in. So anybody that does have those concerns, please feel to reach out. Don't wait for the request to come out. Anytime you need to sit down and talk about any issues, I am available. I will make myself available. And another thing I've been working on with the ARC and the CAC with Rebecca is coordinating on the updated guidelines that go out to any new construction that comes about. We're working hand in hand with them to update those guidelines that haven't been done in some time. That concludes my report.
Another great report. Thank you so much. Great working liaisons you have here, guys, to your respective committees. Just briefly, we had Suffolk here. I've been working closely with Suffolk and our Code Enforcement Bureau for the last month, getting prepped for the busy season upon us and dealing with some of the incidences that have happened down in the village that were of great concern. I'm happy to see that the new commissioner of the Suffolk County Police and the Inspector Riley still have the village in good regard, and they're really working with us very closely. And I want to say I think the response time now has really been picking up, and a lot of the more aggressive things that we've seen happening there, their response time and translating those into arrests has been really effective. So I really want to give them a shout out. Really had a great meeting with the 6-Acre Park Committee. Want to thank those volunteers for working over the last 8 months and pulling together what I think is a fantastic vision for the 6 acres up in on Highlands Boulevard. I'm looking forward to having them do their presentation to the Board of Trustees. I think that's going to be something to look forward to at our next meeting on May 15th, 16th, 3:30 in the afternoon. Our parking administrator has recently met up at the station with the Long Island Railroad MTA, walking the parking lots. Our side of the tracks looks pretty good. Our Perry Street parking lot is being used right now for the Conifer project for staging construction, so it's a bit messy there. When those projects are done, of course, we'll redo that parking lot in the same branding that we do with the lower lots here. But what we were talking with them about really is the lot on the south side of the tracks, on the Town of Brookhaven side. It looks like you've crossed into another country or stratosphere on the south side of the parking of the train station. I don't know who would park there. It's in terrible disrepair. Needs a lot more security, and so what it's doing is forcing people to come into the lot on the Portrait Village side of the tracks. So we're working with the MTA. We do have an agreement with them, a contract with them, because the village is responsible for maintaining the Long Island Railroad parking lot within the village's jurisdiction. We have a maintenance agreement. We plow it, we plant it, we maintain it, we salt it, we shovel it, we do all those things. We can only do that if there's a good layout. They did obviously redo that parking lot to our recommendations for a better layout, better taxi drop off, and we're about to put Station Street, the installation of that street, out for bid. As you can see, the Conifer project, the new gateway building, is really looking pretty sharp up there and adding a beautiful new gateway. You can see the sculpture that the MTA donated to our village at that gateway is really starting to stand out. Things are really starting to come together there. So Conifer has a second project, Conifer 2, in the works, working with our building and planning department on making their formal application. It'll be on the contiguous lot, so you'll have construction from Station Street now over to Perry, and thanks to Barbara and the planning board and all their hard work. You'll also see the lobster building, where the former Lobster House restaurant, the old Morelli's Garage, will be getting their demo permit any minute. You'll see that facility start to come down. You see that the property was fenced in, all the vegetation came down. There was a little concern about the way that the building is actually going to be demoed because it's a masonry block, cement block building. The steel structures will be hand taken down within, trying to reduce the amount of dust that it's not going to be me and the bulldozer, unfortunately, but we'll find a way to do something up there. So you'll see that corner start to take place. And then we had a really great news that in the ABI electrical building uptown, you see the windows are papered over and they're painting, and there's going to be a new doggy daycare coming into Upper Port. So you're going to see Upper Port's just going to start to blossom, guys. It's going to start to kind of get its own personality. But we're doing a lot of planning up there, and I think we're good things to come for Upper Port. Just wanted to also say I've been working with the court. You will soon see the New York State Comptroller's Office came and did an audit of the court for the years 15, 16, and 17. At the time, there were 4 justices. We had an interim justice, Mr. Glass. We had the late Justice Peter Graham at the time, the new Justice Higgins, and the renowned Justice Riley. All had a toe in the water, so to speak. The audit findings were not kind, but we do have a new court clerk, we have new justices, we have a new village administrator, and we have a new, who's the other one? Treasurer. So a lot of the recommendations that they found and things, and chief, yes. So a lot of the things that they found have been corrected. 95% of the findings have been corrected by the village. So we've been spending a lot of time with the court the last month. June 5th, there's a ribbon cutting again at the Drow Meadow Cottage to reopen the building as a permanent Culper Spiring museum. It's going to be a plundering day at the corner. 1 to 4 come down. The Port Jeff Brew is actually making a Brewster's Brew for us, named after the infamous spy, I forget his first name, but Brewster. Kayla Brewster, thank you. So that'll be a fun event. Kids are welcome. We're going to have the reenactments down there. We'll have some privateers, nice way of saying pirates, but privateers down there. And so that'll be a nice new entrance from the westerly side. I like to fondly call it the Dirty Deli, and if anybody's had some experience in the village for quite some years, you know that the building on the corner of West Broadway and Beach was fondly called the Dirty Deli for many, many years. The building is going to probably close within the next 30 or 60 days. You have a new owner. They're going to completely renovate that building. Within its footprint, you'll have a new wet space, a new eatery, and some safe new apartments upstairs, and we're looking forward to that. It's the Aronica family. They have purchased a building that used to be owned by Genya News Shots across from Theater 3, and they made that beautiful restoration of that property there. So it's the same family, lives in Port Jeff and looking to make investment here. My last announcement, I know I said to be the quick one, the farmers market reopens on Mother's Day, Sunday. We have, Barbara, how many vendors? 27 right now, but it's building every day. Yeah, as it warms up, more and more things are available for purchase, planting. So come on down for Mother's Day and get a nice, beautiful, fresh bouquet of flowers and something special. The weather, you could not beat the weather down here this weekend. The Antiques and Gardens Festival at the Village Center was really a great showing. It was so good to be out and seeing everybody, and the volunteers there, our Historical Society and the Sawassa Park Garden Club. They really put a strong effort into that event, and I'm hoping if you didn't get to make it this year, please support them. These not-for-profits just are barely keeping it together. They need our support. And with that, I will open it for public comment. I just want to remind you, you need to come to the podium, press the green button, state your name and address for the record, and the microphone's yours, Barbara.
Thank you. Barbara Sabatino, 2 Westview Avenue. I'm up on my toes. Oh, okay. It's taped on here. Oh, okay.
Do we need to get a shoebox for you, Barbara?
Please, please. I'll take it everywhere with me. It's that bad now. Stan, the pickleball courts at Texaco Avenue, are those painted on the existing basketball court?
Yes, they are.
What's happening with the basket? Can they coexist?
Absolutely.
Okay, and pickleball involves nets, and somebody has to put up and take down the nets?
The nets are going to be portable nets. We're going to have a storage area there.
Hopefully, we'll have a volunteer that'll assist us with the issuing of the equipment. If not, we'll have the Parks Department open the storage every morning and lock it up every night.
Okay, because when I was up there, I found that during the day, the basketball court wasn't used, but come at the end of the workday, 5 o'clock.
Right.
And when I went home, which was probably around 7, it was being used.
Correct.
So I just hate to see it in conflict.
They won't hopefully be in conflict. Hopefully we can work together and work out a schedule where they will not. We've been doing the same thing over at Kip Lee with our recreational programs. We have 3 pickleball courts over there. And there have been a few minor complaints. I know Myrna's going to speak on this probably shortly. She catches me every meeting. But I firmly believe that both sports can coexist. With my background, I have not ever seen a gymnasium, indoor gymnasium, that didn't have volleyball court lines, basketball court lines, badminton court lines, and it seems to work out.
Okay, I was just wondering about, who puts up the nets, who takes down the nets. But my second question is, my niece who lives in the village was looking for a softball team. And I looked at the recreation department, I looked a couple other places, and I couldn't find one. Did I miss something? There are no softball teams for teenage girls? Any
that
in the
would be-
recreation?
Is it Bianca? That's
Yeah.
That would be a question maybe for the school district.
I looked there too. It's nothing seems to be available.
They have a softball team.
They do.
Yeah,
Because
Okay.
I go up to see
they have a,
my kids.
Yeah, got you. Rima, point of order.
if I'm not mis-
Oh, Rima Potter. I'm just saying they have a softball team. I walk past it when I go get my son at track.
Through the school.
Yes,
Thank you. I will point that out.
but I don't know if Bianca, she might have missed the cutoff, but.
She might have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she was looking, thank you, she was looking for that for a time. And then my last question is, I was reading about the Drowned Meadow house. And
Yeah.
I don't know where I was looking or read the article, but it said that letters about the spy ring was found in the chimney.
Yeah.
Where?
Apparently, the aspiring historian Mark Sternberg, I always want to say Mary Jean Sternberg whenever I say that name, the actress. He's been doing a ton of research, and he, discovered letters that are of, University of Michigan that were actually found in the chimney. They didn't find letters in the chimney. They didn't actually find letters in the chimney, but
I
they're
was going to say, but he found in a chimney the letters, and he discovered it at the University of Michigan.
right. So he's doing a lot of research, and they've actually located some documents that show that they were hiding important documents, and they would put them within the chimney or behind bricks or within the walls. And he's located some, and they will be unveiled at this reception on June 5th.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm going to go with Rima, then I'll go with Myrna.
Rima Potter, 111 Spring Street. I've spoken to Barbara. I've spoken to Steve Gallagher. It's in regards to the work that National Grid is doing on our street, replacing a gas line. It's kind of a mess. It has been a mess. I've spoken to National Grid. I filed a complaint. I left messages with Mr. Palumbo, and I did call them today as well. So they are doing work. They've replaced the entire line, but what we were told by National Grid is that they will only repave half the street. And then when I spoke with Barbara and Steve, they said in order to get an entire street repaved, I would have to approach the board to have them approve of repaving the entire street.
So they upgraded your gas main coming all the way from top to bottom?
Yes.
And so you have that strip that goes down?
Yes. And it's completely, at this point, it goes like this.
Right. So it's kind of like what was driving
High
me nuts
Street.
on West Broadway when they
Right.
redid West Broadway, and then they had the potholes and you had the bell holes. And we talked about this earlier. National Grid is letting that, they do it in stages. So they replace the pipe, they then pack it with RCA, they let the RCA settle, and so you have the temporary patch. You don't have the
No, I know
you
it's
don't have
not the
new
real
thing.
patch, but they also left it a disaster. Like, the street was just covered in the asphalt debris. It was hitting all
Yep.
of our cars. It's still on the sidewalks. But we were told they're only going to repave half of it. We don't have a time frame. I've called National Grid. They're going to call me back.
Okay.
I don't know. They're not going to pave the whole street. And you know our street is a very high traffic area with multiple buses 2 times a day from BOCES.
We just
including-
repaved that street, didn't we?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, so it was within the past 3 years, it was repaved. And the traffic that goes up and down that street is tremendous between all of the minibuses, which have got to be about 30 of them, plus all of the employees. So, and it's a funnel down to Main Street. So we know what happened at Theater 3. I'm not quite sure half of the street being paved would be prudent.
Okay, well, they're supposed to restore in kind, so, Joe, you're in connection with Steve on this. Rima, if you get a timeline, let us know what the timeline is. If we get a timeline, we'll let you know, and then, we got a lot of paving to do here, so.
Right, so that's why I was saying that we noticed that all of the streets around us are getting repaved. We understand our road was already repaved, but now if you take a look at it, half of it is completely torn up and just.
Okay, so when we have an answer from National Grid about their timeline, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
And I
thank
appreciate you coming and addressing the board tonight.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Myrna.
Hi, Myrna Gordon. Let me just see this. Can you hear me all right?
I can, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Myrna Gordon, Rustic Road, Port Jefferson. Actually, Stan, I'm here to apply for a lifeguard position as a former water safety instructor. Are you accepting people almost 80?
Yes.
Having my WSI.
If you can pass the test, you're in.
Okay, that was my main reason for being here. Anyway, I want to always thank my Mayor Garan, the trustees, because whenever I've contacted you, especially you, Stan, and you, Rebecca, you've always gotten right back to me. So I do appreciate your, attention to getting back to those people that are calling. Just a brief story. Not too long ago, I was at a meeting, and I was standing next to a woman who I didn't know. And we were talking, and she said, "Oh, I'm from Port Jefferson." And I said, "Well, I live in Port Jefferson also." And she said to me, "What is your name?" I said, "My name is Myrna Gordon." And she said, "Oh, you're the agitator." So I'm here today as an agitator, a community organizer, a peace activist, a grandmother and a great-grandmother, and a Port Jefferson resident for 52 years. I'm here again today to talk about the use of our village basketball courts being shared with pickleball. We had an article in our local paper last week which did a fabulous job about describing the popularity of pickleball, and I agree. It's a national explosion as far as what's happening with that sport. However, I'm a voice of one in this community, and I don't mind standing in front of this body, a voice of one, trying to bring attention to what I feel is important. In a report, Trustee Laux said that he had no negative feedback. Okay, he knows that I have been giving him negative feedback. He said that people are excited, it's popular, and I agree. I wrote back to the mayor and trustees and I said, I hear differently. You see, when I go and speak to those on the basketball courts, both at Texaco and Rocket Ship, I speak directly to our Black and Hispanic young players. I speak with the multicultural and diverse community who have been there for decades and decades to play basketball. I speak with their parents, and I mention to them that their playing time may be diminished with the placement of pickleball on those courts. The problem is, for me, of course, most are not village residents. They have no voting block. Perhaps if they did respond, that response would be different. I personally feel that our village dropped the ball a little bit 4 years ago when I was here before you to promote pickleball at Texaco Park, reconfiguring the entire landscape, but that wasn't done. Rail Realty had an idea, and they went through with it. So I did this 4 years ago. The diverse group of people who come to our village to play basketball is amazing. Go down there and see what the courts look like. So I'm here today. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here next week. I'll be here next year to speak on their behalf and keep my eye on the ball regarding the amount of time that those courts are being used. I believe in fairness, I believe in equity, and I believe in just solutions for the diverse communities that come to this village. So I stand here today to ask every one of you sitting in front of me that when you begin to gentrify a community, there are negativities. And when you begin to bring in new programs like that, there are always sometimes there's a backlash. When you bring in new apartment buildings, people are displaced. And that's also happened uptown because I know people who have had to move from those apartment buildings. So that's the mindset that you have to totally determine. And lastly, let's not forget about the people and the young people who come here to play. I'm just one voice. I hope every single person in here realizes that we have to encourage young people of a diverse background to continue to come here. I don't mind standing in front of you because you know what? 44 years ago, there was another mayor sitting there, okay, and women were not permitted, were second-class citizens at the country club. Stan knows that, okay? I was a voice of one. So me standing here being a voice of one, I have no problem with that. And because I was a voice of one, New York State law was changed. Most people don't know that women were denied equal time at the tennis courts, even when we bought the tennis courts and it was a public facility. The mayor at the time refused to allow women to play at certain times until I took them to court and it became a test case in New York State. So I'm in this for the long haul. As I said before, I hope that you keep your eye on the prize and just remember that when you implement a new program, sometimes there's always things that occur around it. Thank you.
Thank you, Myrna. You want to address that?
Yes, Myrna.
Stan.
We are presently, and we discussed this earlier this evening, we're presently discussing pickleball up at the courts, up at the country club. You know that. We are also discussing the possibility of turning the 3 tennis courts behind Village Hall into multi-purpose type basketball, tennis, pickleball. If we can get this done, Kipley will not be a pickleball complex. Right now, we have no place to try this new sport. And hopefully, we can work together until we can solve the situation. I totally sympathize with you. I come from a basketball background. I know what these kids feel. I know the kids that are playing over there. 2 of those kids formed a league. Those 2 kids played basketball for me in the last century. So Rob Martinson and Keith McCaffrey are 2 of these people who organize that sport over there. So I feel for your group. I think we can work together, and I think it's going to work out. As I said, we've lost a tremendous facility. We're looking for places to put new programs. We're meeting on Wednesday with the superintendent of schools to see if we can find some more facility, because we have more programs than we have room for. We have more youngsters and adults who want programs, and we don't have a place to put them.
Thank you.
Can I add on to that?
Sure.
Thank you. Myrna, to add to what Stan had said, I brought back up this concept of pickleball at Texaco Park when working through the comments from 6 Acre Park, and we had looked at that together. And this, as Stan said, we're sort of piloting this pickleball program, and I think as we see, if it is just as popular in Port Jeff as everywhere else, then looking at, the future of the courts, the currently sort of carpeted tennis courts over near Rocket Ship Park and all of this. And so it's part of this shake-up right now. I also would love to see a redesign of Texaco Park in the future as part of the revitalization of Uptown, and have it, offer more sports, but again, in the experience of looking at the 6 Acre Park, we're realizing that looking at the population that's there plus the population that's coming, there's workforce housing that's going in up there, which is wonderful. We have market rate housing that's going in, and so looking and seeing what are these existing and new residents, what are their desires going to be to make their corner of Port Jefferson wonderful. So I look forward to continuing this conversation with you.
Yes, that will happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just simply going to add, I've been told that the use of the basketball courts for pickleball is strictly temporary, and I will follow through on that.
Maybe Stan, are permanent lines going to be put down on the rocket ship courts? Because when I was down there last Sunday, actually that would be yesterday, it looked like they had taken a little bit of chalk and just drawn some temporary little bit sidelines and maybe an end line. Would chalk help rather than putting down permanent lines, or are you not considering putting down permanent lines?
We're going to put down lines, but lines can also be taken off. There will be permanent lines put down there for this season. If we are successful in going forward with pickleball, as I said before, I'll gladly move away from Kipley, and lines can be painted over as quickly as they can be put down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Myrna. Who's next? Mr. Epp?
Hello, Arthur Epp, 206 East Main Street. Following Myrna's comments, I can't say that I can characterize myself as a community agitator, but I should say when I was a teenager, my favorite black t-shirt had written letters, white letters across, was "Question Authority." Today, if I had a favorite t-shirt, it would probably say "Let's Talk." There was a purveyor of mediocre men's suits for many years named Cy Sims. And if you remember his radio commercials, he used to say, an educated consumer is our best customer. And I believe in terms of citizenry, an educated citizen is the best citizen. I believe in raw numbers, we're approaching 9,000 citizens in Port Jefferson Village. Would you say that's approximately correct? I also have looked, and I believe only 200 subscribe to the internet to watch these Board of Trustees meetings. If we only have about 2.2% of our population clued in and aware of what's going on, I don't think we're meeting what we really need to have as a goal. I would like to see 500 people subscribe to these meetings. And I'd like to ask Rebecca Cassay and Bruce Miller if you both, by chance, might think about being reelected. Would you please go out there and try to inflame the public to be more engaged in village politics? I think this is very important. And when we're going to try to make important decisions in the community, we have to have a larger critical mass of informed citizens. Changing the channel, one separate thought. Several months ago, I attended a meeting where I believe Allison LaPointe made a very interesting statement about chicken coops. I believe she said that we have a village ordinance where you cannot locate your chicken coop within 50 feet of a property line. I don't know if that's
Look that up,
true.
Brian, look that up.
It's 50 feet, it has to be 50 feet from any property line.
Okay, I'm using that as a reference point.
Yes.
I understand that the village code, the principle behind it is maintaining the health, welfare, and safety of the public. And although we don't want to thwart the efforts of people that love wildlife, we have to really look at, again, health, welfare, and safety. One of the denizens of our downtown is the Norway rat. It's part of our ecosystem and has been probably for hundreds of years. I have recently discovered that the Norway rat loves birdseed. There are people who will put up a bird feeder right near their property lines, and whether intentionally or unintentionally, they're going to draw this rodent into their neighbor's house. The thing is, the bird seed, some of it is eaten by the birds and much of it falls to the ground, and that attracts the rodent. So my belief is, in the spirit of the chicken coop provision, I would like to suggest to the board that we create new code prohibiting someone from putting a bird feeder within 20 feet of a property line, because a neighbor should not be subjected to rodents entering their house because their neighbor thoughtlessly or possibly with malice did so knowing they were attracting rats. I'd like to see this yesterday because this is a real health and safety issue. Okay, thank you.
All right, I have a question.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, please.
Art, I have to tell you, that is the most, you win the prize of my entire career up here. That is the most unusual code request I have ever heard. And I applaud you for coming up with something so unique. I think it'll be an enforcement nightmare, but we will take it under advisement and discuss it. Rebecca, you want to comment?
Thank you. I was wondering if I know you're a great researcher, in your looking into this, or if you would look into this and see what other communities might have implemented, be it code or education campaigns to address this issue. Because I know, especially right now, even and this is nothing to do with the Norway rat, but should anyone have bird feeders right now, the avian flu has flared up again, and so that's actually another danger to wildlife. It's sort of a mistaken kindness to feed the birds right now. But looking in, as far as the rodents go, looking into what other communities might have implemented, I'd be very curious to see that and discuss further.
But you know what? I wish that we would be the trendsetters.
Arthur, I understand what you're saying because at my old home, I remember looking up from my kitchen window, which I often did to enjoy the birds outside of the bird feeder, and was horrified when they're staring back at me in the bird feeder, up high, was a rat. So I get it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for
We will look
consideration.
into
So
that.
maybe people
One-
just
one
put
more
bird
comment.
feeders on their properties, period. Go ahead, Bruce.
Just to your previous comment, prior to the fauna in the village, I will take you up on that. I will be discussing my issues with the public and advising them as to how they can participate more effectively and become more informed about the village government. And I will continue to advocate with the board that we make ourselves more available to the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Arthur,
Thank
one
you.
other thing, I just got the information back. As of October, with our e-report, there's 1,100 subscribers with an 80% open rate. So those numbers are very good. We're very happy to see that. Yeah.
Mr. DeGrosser, Dr. DeGrosser, I should say. Joe.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Joe DeGrosser. My address is 5 Trips Court, Port Jefferson. I've been a resident since 1977. The statements I'm going to make are my own. They do come after hearing some complaints from members of the Port Jefferson Country Club, and particularly the golf members. It is my opinion that the members of Port Jefferson Country Club are being unfairly treated by the imposition of a $400 per person minimum. We have been told by the Village of Port Jefferson that the golf and tennis membership must be self-sufficient. Yet we're being forced to pay a high minimum to support a public restaurant so that it may pay rent to the Village of Port Jefferson, and that rent is not considered in our country club budget. Both restaurants at the club are overpriced and provide no sense of country club atmosphere to the members. The Turn restaurant, whose previous management had very good rapport with membership and was reasonably priced, was forced to change membership so that a new contract could be signed, and that certainly adversely affected members. The country club has recently paid close to $500,000 to the Village of Port Jefferson because we were told that we operated at a deficit for a number of years. However, these calculations fail to take into account the repayment of a capital improvement bond out of country club funds. The repayment of this bond occurred prior to and after the years of the deficit. The capital improvements, which include a $2 million maintenance facility, has increased the value of a Port Jefferson asset by a far greater amount. By normal accounting procedures, the repayment of a capital improvement really is not considered journal income, so therefore the fact that we're being told we operated at a deficit is really not, such a deficit is really not accurate. Difficult decisions lie ahead for the Village of Port Jefferson regarding the fate of the main clubhouse. You should be aware that at present the clubhouse is underutilized by both residents and by members, as you, the mayor, said yourself, and that at present it is considered by members to be more of a burden than a benefit.
Can you submit that letter to the clerk, Joe, for me?
I can submit that letter to the clerk. Yes.
I mean, you can just hand it to her, so
but I can email it in.
Oh, okay.
I do have an email form. Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
I do need to make one small change to it.
Okay.
And then I can send it tomorrow or tonight. Okay.
Okay, so that's you're a member of the CCMAC as well. So you're saying this is your personal perspective?
This is my personal.
Okay.
And this should not be construed as the entirety of this letter is coming from the CCMAC.
Understood.
But you will be receiving a letter from the CCMAC as well.
Okay, and so let me make sure I can. Do you want a response to their letter, or you just want that? Are you asking for the Board of Trustees to address your concerns we will respond in kind, but it's a lot being.
I would love to have a response, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You don't have any questions for me?
No.
No, thanks.
Gwen.
Yeah, Gwen Knott, 40 Clubhouse Court. Can anyone speak to the fact that there are work trucks being parked in the lower? Yes. Was it addressed earlier before I came in?
No.
Okay.
No. But
yeah. Work trucks being parked in the lower parking lot at the country club, which I hope is only temporary because certainly they parked somewhere else.
Yes,
it's an eyesore.
Our DPW yard is being paved right now, and so I'm sorry. Well, in being paved tomorrow. Well, it was milled in place, wasn't it? Yeah. So it's in the midst of being paved. So they had to relocate the equipment temporarily so they can, once it's paved, they'll put everything back. However, I think the canisters or the containers are gone. Great. Okay. So it's being restored. It's a temporary It's only temporary because we really didn't have anywhere else to put the trucks for the time being.
Perfect, thanks.
You're welcome.
I believe the containers are still there. Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you say they were gone today,
Unless they left today.
you said they were left today. Are they gone today? I can't answer that. I wasn't there over the weekend. I apologize. I forget your first name, and I want to say Mark. Okay, thank you. Mark, please.
I'm not going to spend long. Now is probably getting late. I just wanted to make a general informational statement. Mark Croft, 11 Leeward Lane, Port Jefferson. So this is in regards to Mr. Epps and to Deputy Mayor Snaden. And as I don't care which way things go with the bird seed as far as the feeding, but I just wanted to make one note that was reasonable to make. The brown rat, or Rattus norvegicus, is a very significant omnivore, and although it will eat bird seed, it will eat a variety of other foods as well, human waste. It's eaten fish at hatcheries, it's eaten mollusks. You can find in some cases that they can eat small mice. You can try to restrict the brown rat by cutting down the bird seed. I don't know that it will make a difference, although I'm not saying that that shouldn't be implemented. I suspect it will probably not make much of a difference. That's all I just wanted to add.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments for tonight? Yes, this gentleman. Don't know you by first name, otherwise I'd call your first name.
My name is Anthony Mistretta, 210 Main Street, and I'm definitely not a fan of public speaking or microphones, but I just wanted to ask quickly, I'm a big bird watcher, nature person, and I just noticed a lot of the gardens, like in front of the village hall, that had a lot of wildflowers that bring in bees and bumblebees and birds and butterflies were kind of cut away. And I wish they put in the daffodils, and they did the same thing sort of by the boutique. They put the daffodils, and they took out a lot of the irises and things that were growing there. I was just wondering, who makes these decisions, and how are those decisions made, to cut the things away? I'm just concerned, the habitats for some of these animals, plants. How do they go about just cutting them out?
Sorry. We did have a master gardener who was part of our Parks Department, who we relied on heavily to help us make those decisions. Unfortunately, she was hurt on the job last year. I believe she's trying to return to work. The position is being held open for her. In the interim, we have some volunteers that help us with those decisions, and then we have our Parks Department, and we have a trustee, Cassay and Snaden, who are helping us with, going to various nurseries and helping us select proper vegetation, types of flowers, replanting plans, and things that'll be robust, colorful, and very little maintenance year-round. There were some decisions made to at the traffic circle, the traffic circle at the village center, to thin back some of the pollinator garden because it was just overgrowing, and I think we have to look at our pollinator garden on Spring Street because I think that one's also now becoming overgrown. We kind of do like a little bit of a manicured look, but we are very concerned and hopefully mindful about the pollinator gardens as well. Okay. We didn't want to, it was brought to our attention and we're taking it under advisement. I appreciate your perspective.
Thank you.
And at this time, anything that you see that looks empty, it's only a matter of weather and time. There is a plan in place, and they will be replanted. Here at Village Hall, there was some foundation, potential issues with the foundation, with some older plantings, and that was more of that sense, which is what made the decision to take the things out. But everything is being replaced.
Thank you.
And Anthony, I know you've shown up to our. I ran last year at the request of the rest of the board, help educate folks about pollinator gardens and also have volunteers come out and help to be stewards of these pollinator gardens because these are little pieces of habitat which are important for birds and pollinators as well. So I know I've seen you there. I hope to continue seeing you there this year. We're going to launch back into those to make sure that the pollinators ride that line of tidy but also ecologically valuable.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. And that was a great job at public speaking. Anybody else this evening? Motion to close the public hearing or public session at 7:30.
Moved. Second.
Seconded by trustee Laux. All in favor? Aye. And that's, Barbara, that motion was to close the meeting. Thank you for attending. Happy spring.